Hey, everybody. It's Maria from What's the Story with Maria. How's it going? Welcome to our show. We meet here every week, every Tuesday from 9 to 10 Eastern. So, depending on what part of the country or the world, we have listeners from all over the world as well. That's what time it is in New York. I'm actually in New Jersey tonight. I'm in beautiful Cliffside Park, New Jersey. And Leo, why don't you hit our promo?
Yeah, I'm a big fish in a small pond. Days free and my nights long. I create my own reality. Who I am is fine with me. I'm as famous, I'm as famous as I wanna be. Who I am is fine with me. It's who I am. It's who I am. Oh, who I am. It's fine with me. It's who I am. It's who I am.
So, hi, hello again, everyone. As I said, we're so glad you're here. Our first in, of course, Danielle from D's Enlightened Edits. Hi, Maria and Leo. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday to you, sweetheart. I got to tell you, Danielle from D's Enlightened Edits is not just our friend; she's an amazing spiritual medium, and we don't say that lightly. She every time I talk about her, I add a new adjective, but she is a delightful, intelligent, thoughtful healer. I would put Danielle under healer. I had a session yesterday with that I bought my sister for Christmas from D's Enlightened Edits. I had a quantum session maybe right before Christmas. And then I also had a spirit animal reading, which was mind blowing, both incredible. And when I use the term life changing, I am not just saying that like people say, oh, that was life changing. I mean, it was life changing because I felt like it shifted so much in me and it made me understand my family history and made me understand my spiritual history and my past life stuff. If you're into any of that, you're going to love Danielle. And oh my God, speaking of which, my cousin Rena Crugnali Berge has joined in. She also had a session with Danielle, as did my Aunt Anna around Christmas. And Rena Crugnali, I'm here, but I might fall asleep during the show. Don't take offense. What? It's the pain meds. Oh, Rena has a good excuse tonight. She had knee surgery, actually a knee replacement, right? So the big stuff. And she was she was in surgery yesterday. She was still in recovery last night at this time. And so now she's home and she's recouping. So Rena, I am so thrilled that you're here and I'm so happy you're here. So okay, let me just see who else is typed. So I'm glad you're here, sweetheart. So I was talking about Danielle and my sister and I. Well, it was my sister's session, but she was like, "Why don't you stay on?" So it was just beautiful and just amazing things. So I can't recommend Danielle of D's Light Enlightened Dead. It's enough. If you are someone that always wants to look within and without, Danielle's your girl. You're gonna expand in both ways. I can promise you that. Um, okay, Barry Silber has joined us, and oh, Phil, you're living in Philly now, Barry. I see that. Barry is a huge supporter of the arts, a great music lover. Barry, you are going to really love our guest tonight. I know Barry and I bonded many years ago at the duplex over our love of Laura Nero, who just was incredible. So Barry and I have that in common. You are going to love our guest, Joanie. She's amazing. Singer-songwriter. She is going to be joining us very, very soon. And Barry, you're going to be smitten with Joanie and her beautiful voice. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to talk about before we do bring the beautiful Joanie on is all this rage, right, over the Barbie movie. Now, personally, I was not a kid that played with Barbies. I was more of a G.I. Joe girl, if you know what I mean. They'll just be code. But my sister and my cousin Rena were avid Barbie girls. And my mother and my Aunt Anna, my Ziana, used to make clothes for the Barbies. What do you like? I can't hear you. You muted, Leo.
No, I'm not muted. I'm laughing so hard.
Why? Because I was more of a
You're a
G.I. Joe.
Joe girl.
Well, I mean, that is like, that's like a little code
I
for other
played
things.
with in the circles that I play with, G.I. Joe always hung out with Barbie. I mean,
Well, he did because
G.I.
he's,
Joe.
he's hot. But yeah, I didn't really play with the Barbies. But as I got older, I actually started to really love the doll collecting world. And I collect bobbleheads, so I have a ton of sports bobbleheads. But for many years, because I worked for FAO Schwartz, I used to collect certain Barbies, and then I sold them over the years. As you move from one apartment to the other, and you decide. But Jared, our friend Jared, Jared Felipe, he does a show called Life in Plastic on YouTube, and it's all about Barbie doll collection and other dolls as well. But so he had a Barbie party. They all look how cute they are. They all went to see the movie and then had a party afterwards. And what I love about this whole thing is that the whole country, for some reason, yesterday felt like it was on the same page. I know the Oppenheimer movie as well did really well, but I feel like since before COVID, we didn't have this kind of excitement over a movie, and now everything's really switched to indoors, Netflix, HBO Max, all that stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that. I love sitting on a nice comfy couch and watching that and being able to freeze it and all that.
In
But
pink.
in pink. But there's really nothing like going to the movies with a bunch of your friends, getting some popcorn, and really getting the total experience. So
Joe did.
now this okay. I'm sorry, but I just think this is the cutest thing ever. I just saw this today on Instagram and I had to screenshot and send it to Leo. How cool is that guy? I love a guy that can not only wear pink and do it well, but also is a feminist and supports the female empowerment movement. That is really a big deal to me. I was talking to someone today who's a dad and he has daughters. And just the way he was talking about his daughters just warmed my heart. Like, I love those kind of people. And last week we had uh, David Foley Jr., and he was talking about he was doing a show about the man who wrote The Wizard of Oz, Frank Baum.
Mhm.
And in the early 30s, when he wrote all that, all his books had female protagonists. And ironically, they were banned because of it originally. Isn't that something? So, from what I hear, I haven't seen the Barbie movie. I don't know if anybody has, but I'm dying to see it because from what I hear, it's really cool, super female empowerment stuff. And it's not what everybody thinks it is. So, what joy that a lot of us are going in that direction to keep lifting each other up,
And she's
So,
always been progressive. I mean, in
yeah,
her way and in certain ways, she's always been progressive. Barbie's always been like, go do you, go be you, go do this. Barbie had how many careers? 50 careers, something. And now
yeah,
I think what they're doing is they're maybe adjusting the narration for the you go girls of this generation and how it works.
yeah.
That's what I understand. I haven't seen it. It's not a Marvel movie. I probably won't be first in line for the premiere, but I'll watch it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I just think it's fun, and it's a whole new generation, of enjoying
Mhm.
certain things, and I think that's really, really special. So, and I love our friend Jared. He does a show. I don't know how often he does it, but if you just go to YouTube and type in "Life in Plastic"
Mhm.
and then like a backslash Jared, his last name is Miharis, so it's Mihares. And he always has guests on from across the country. There was just a big Barbie convention. I just love the joy behind it. That's what I'm about. Whether you collect,
His collection is amazing.
I've been to his, I've been to his home. It's spectacular. I
Wow.
mean, Michael, his husband, made all these beautiful, incredible cases that
Mhm.
he has all these dolls, and he keeps them in. They're pristine, and it's just and the clothes. He has different clothes in different little cabinets, and
And he's part of your America.
yes, he is. I wrote a song a couple years ago called "This Is My America." It's a song about immigration, and we just recently called upon our friends and said, if you are from another country, or you have your first or second or even third generation, and you want to share your photos of your immigrants that first came over to this country, and then your family now. And Jared was part of that. He is from the Philippines, so it's just I just love how beautiful the story of of all of us is, and how we all come together, and we're all creative people. Where I was telling Joni earlier, I was talking to her yesterday, and how our audience is just this wonderful collection of artists and creatives, and we just all share ideas, and we all lift each other up. So let's say hello to some more people. Carmina Del Ano is here. Hi, Carmina. How are you? Jill Crozian is here. Is that your friend?
Jill Crozian is a friend of mine that I met while listening to our friends on WFMU.org, Sheena's Jungle Room Beneath the Underground with John Pietero and Laurie Towers. And Jill Crozian is a rockin' lady from the Lower East Side.
Oh God!
Back in the day, and I've heard her album. She's got a song that.
Jill, why don't you come on the show? Why don't we talk and have you on the show? I think I'm pretty sure that August is pretty full up. I have to look at next week, but August is pretty filled. But maybe we can have you come on in September.
That would be fun, Jill.
Yeah, some months I have like all this space, and then other months it just like fills up super quick. There's a lot going on this month. I also want to shout out our friend Mario Cantone. Mario,
right.
Mario and I went to high school together. We've been amazing friends for many, many years. My God, since the 80s. And he is doing so well. He's was on Sex and the City years ago. Now he's on Just Like That. He's one of the main characters, Anthony Marinelli. And Marantino. I'm sorry, I think it's Marantino. I know, Anthony Marantino. That's it. And anyway, I was talking to him the other day, and we're going to try to have him on the show really soon. It's just that there's a writer's strike and a SAG strike right now. So a lot of things are on hold, but and this doesn't fall under that category. So we are not crossing any lines. We support our WGA friends and our SAG friends. I am SAG myself. So we just wanted to put that out there. Lynn Portis Genius has joined us. I was watching her today. She went live. She was in Long Island playing for Alex, who's out there. One of our friends who is, he's handicapped, but he is so productive and amazing. And he just started acting in Chris DiPiero's new series, Gavons.
Oh, that's
So, and he's funny as funny can be, and he's great. So shout out to Alex and his beautiful mom, Janet, out in Long Island. They did great work in the Gavons second season there.
Those looks he was given in that scene.
He's so
really
funny.
good actor.
He's really funny. Yeah. So Lynn was out there today playing for him, as she often does, and she went live. Yeah, Alex is great. Okay, so listen, everybody, behave yourselves. Now, everybody here behaves. We know Mandar is frisky, but everybody else here is wonderful. But I do want to let you know that we're going to bring on our friend Joanie Pallatto any second. But I want you to, if you have questions you want to ask Joanie, if you anything, she is from, well, she lives in Chicago. No, I think she's from Ohio originally. But we're going to bring on the beautiful Joanie Pallatto to our and welcome her. Let's give her a huge "What's the Story with Maria?" Welcome. Yay! Hi, Jody. How are you, honey?
Oh, thank you so much, Maria. And hi, Leo. Thanks for having me. This is no accident.
Yes, no, it's no accident. We
actually, I was going to play that since we talked about it. It's one of my favorite. It's going to be my new theme song.
Oh, accidental melody? It should be.
Mm-hmm. It's wonderful.
Fascinating symphony. A mystery.
And que bilingual, Miss Joanie. I love the Spanish in this.
Melody, hiding right in front of me. A mere reflection of a dream. Accidental melody, quite a new discovery. A symmetry, making history.
Beautiful. So if you don't know Joanie, now you know. Joanie Pallatto, everybody. That is her beautiful sound. And Joanie, I know it's jazz. It's kind of some Latin fusion jazz going on there, but you don't really sound like anybody else, which I love.
You know what? That's the greatest compliment you could ever tell a singer.
It's the truth. Yeah.
You wanna have your own voice. You want to sound like you.
Yeah. I mean, I was listening to you. Sometimes I
Yeah,
say,
no.
who does that person remind me of? But you don't. You have your own
Oh,
thing
good.
going on. I love it.
That's good. That's really good to hear. Thank you so much for saying that. Because, you listen sometimes to singers and you're like, yeah, I really like their music, but if I heard this person on the radio or whatever, I would know who it is.
Right,
So to
right.
say that you have an individual voice is so important, and thank you for saying that.
Absolutely, it's true. And this particular piece has, like I said, a Latin jazz fusion thing going on. I personally love that style. Like to me, that always gets me moving. I love all of, like I just love all the percussion that goes, the subtle percussion. Lots of times it has the subtle percussion that I love. But you're working on that particular one. That's with
Right in
a
front of
guitarist,
me.
right? Your guitarist is on there
Oh,
for
yes.
you?
Well, see, yeah, Farid Haq is the guitarist, and he co-produced
Stress
the record
on.
with me. And I've known Farid for, gee, probably over 30 years we've been working
Really?
together. And this is my fourth recording, my fourth album of all original music, Maria. So I'm
Wow.
really happy about that. I have lots of other albums. I'm fortunate to have been able to release a lot of records. My husband Sparrow and I have a record label called Southport Records, and we've always focused on releasing Chicago greats, the jazz greats from Chicago, like Willie Pickens and Von Freeman and Von's brother George Freeman, who I think Leo was listening to a song that I recorded with George. We might hear a little bit of that later.
Wow.
Um, but yeah, yeah. So
So now Chicago, this is a specific Chicago a company, but it's mostly Chicago musicians, right? Which I
yes,
love. We haven't had. I don't think Leo in our 6 years. I don't think we've really had a lot of Chicago musicians on, and so I'm so delighted about that. And also, I know just from talking to a lot of my friends that work out there that Chicago has an amazing music scene, right? Like a amazing live music scene.
it does. And I sort of got distracted, but originally you were talking about the Latin music, and you asked me about
Oh yeah,
Farid.
yeah,
And
yes,
I
yes,
did
yes.
want to add a few things to that conversation
Please.
because he's such an amazing artist. He's such a great musician. He plays with such elegance and style, and really any form of music. I mean, Farid is a great classical musician. He's always playing his acoustic guitar, which he calls classical guitar, which I think is cool. And I was so drawn to that sound, and I think that has informed a lot of the music on this current album, Accidental Melody, knowing that I would be recording with him.
Right.
Um, it's nice to have that kind of collaboration, you know,
Absolutely.
and and
Absolutely.
and to have a partner, a musical partner that can bring ideas when we would get together and rehearse before we recorded the music. We would rehearse and we'd work out the arrangements and the keys, and he would have such perspective on things that maybe I never even thought of doing something that way. Like, for example, uh, on my last record, my original plan, we did a song that I had originally written as a swing
Mm,
tune. And he said, "Oh, let's try this as a Latin in a Latin
mm,
groove." And I never thought of that, and it just completely changed the whole feel and the whole meaning almost of the song. So to have someone that you
absolutely.
can trust to say, "Let's try this,"
Yeah. But
it's a gift.
also it also says a lot about you because I find that, not everybody is open to changing things. A lot of writers go
Oh,
to musicians and say, this is what I got. This is what I need. And they're not open at all to change. They almost find it as an insult sometimes. I am like you. I love the flow. That's why I love to collaborate because I bring something to the table. And if something blows a different way, then I'm like, oh, then I'm thinking maybe I should rewrite that line. Or, you know what? I never thought of that song this way. So maybe the way I sing it is different. So I
Yeah.
personally love collaborations, but not everybody does. I think you have to be a certain type of person to appreciate that.
Well, and that's true not only of music,
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
just in life, just listening to what the other person has to say
Yeah.
instead of just talking right through a conversation, that's
Yeah.
that's something that is it's important, especially these days. I
Yeah.
mean, we all want to be together. We all want to relate and share our experiences with each other.
Yeah.
And maybe some people don't. you know.
Yeah, well, there are lots of different types of artists, and some artists are kind of solo. They're soloists in that sense that they like to be lifted up by others, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's no judgment in it, and they prefer to be that center light. And then there's some artists that really enjoy the collaboration, and it's almost like a dance, a musical dance. And I
Oh,
when I
that's
was
nice. That's a nice
yeah.
thought. Yeah.
When I was looking at you and Farid and listening, but without listening, when I just saw the pictures that came up,
Uh-huh.
I was like, oh, I bet they're friends. That's nice. I
Yeah.
could feel it. I could feel the energy and the respect between two people. And then when I heard it, I'm like, oh, well, that makes total sense. That's
Uh-huh.
really, it's a dance,
It
you
is a
know?
dance. It is a dance. And just to have that kind of collaboration, like we were saying, uh, we haven't really written any music together. Um, but I think that the contributions Farid makes with ideas and arrangements and,
Right.
like I said, grooves and all that, it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like everybody, I think the key for me as a listener as well as a writer is that everybody's good at different things, right? So I feel like we don't all have to be good at the same thing. We don't have to be good at all of it. Like how wonderful that some people are better at different things, and then people that arrange, like Lynn Portis, who's on right now, who said beautiful Joanie. She is my one of my best friends, and she's also my musical director,
Oh,
my main musical director. But um, what she is like, one of the things that she's amazing at. I can take a song that I've written with someone else and bring it to her, and it's what the arrangement. She
yeah.
hears things a certain way, and I just love that. I love people that take risks and try different things.
Well, and
Um,
it's interesting too because I know you write songs. You're a
yeah,
songwriter, um, and also you sing standards and
yeah, of
covers and other
course,
people's songs.
yeah,
So when you think about a, bringing something new to a standard, I mean, Tony
yeah,
Bennett, right? You know,
right,
I mean, he's going to remain as one of the greatest interpreters of the Great American Songbook ever
yeah,
that ever,
absolutely. And I'm glad you brought him up because I found out something about him this week that I didn't know that I think is great and worth just mentioning. So he was not just an amazing singer and interpreter of songs, and his career was incredible. It spanned like 70 decades, I think they said.
Yeah,
7 decades, 70 years.
yeah,
But he was also a philanthropist, and he donated so much money to the arts. He also opened a school in New York, but he didn't name it after himself. He named it after Frank Sinatra. So the Frank Sinatra School, who one of my students at the community center in down on 13th Street, at where I teach there on Thursdays, he goes to the Frank Sinatra School, and I didn't know that that was Tony Bennett's funding.
wow,
So, look at how many, and this young person is so grateful to be at that school and is flourishing. And I think, wow, like one person that loved music, that continued to do it and found all this joy in it, is spread it to so many others. And that person is going to spread it to so many others. It's just like it goes on and on and on, the ripple effect of music and
it's a beautiful
collaboration.
thing.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Now you have 4 albums, right, Joanie? You
Actually, I have 13, I think.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, 4 albums of original music. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's
So
a lot.
4
That's a
original.
lot for such a young 13-year-old, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah. So, I mean, you really started early. So
No,
14.
I'll tell you. My first record was called Whisper Not. It was a black vinyl LP
Wow.
in 1986 um, with a lot of standards on it. And I also had met my husband at that time, Bradley Parker Sparrow, who's a pianist and a wonderful, amazing composer in his own right. We've recorded a few records together of mostly his original music that I also contribute to. So we have that
As the
nice
magical
collaboration as
poster
a married couple as well.
That's
revealed.
Pretty
beautiful.
cool.
Now, how does that I know for some people being in the same business, um, I'll wait till Leo's
Hmm.
done with it. Yeah, so for some couples, because we talk about this quite a bit, a lot of our listeners are couples in the same business. But so for some people, it works out beautifully, and other people that are creative, they're like, "Oh God, I don't want my partner to be in the same business as me. That
Right.
would make me crazy."
Right.
Did you meet? Did you meet as individuals, or were already making music and then came together, or did you start making music together?
No, we met at a no nukes benefit. I was singing and he was playing and he was doing sound and he's
I
always doing a
love it.
million different things. He's one of those kind of people that just has it all covered.
I
So
love it.
he had I joined his band. It was the first time that I had ever sung original music because he only plays his music. He's a composer. He doesn't want any outside influences. I mean, in terms of playing someone else's music. He's self-taught,
Wow.
which I've learned as much from Sparrow being self-taught and getting into that kind of flow and that kind of vibe. I'm the educated one. I have the music degree. But like I said, I've learned as much from him as I learned in any music school. So
And
that's
I'm sure he's learned
beautiful.
from you.
It works both ways.
It really
So we
does.
started together. I was singing in his band, but he always had a recording studio.
Ah,
He always had a little studio on the side. And that's when we met and connected and became a couple and got married in 1982. Uh, we started Southport Records together, and we've got, well, my record is, here's my record. I know Leo's got
oh, I
all the
love
stuff,
it. Yeah.
but it's a 154 in the catalog. So we have 154 records in our Southport catalog, and
Wow,
we're
that's a
very
lot.
proud of that. Yeah, it's a
That
lot.
is quite. That's quite a collection.
Of, like I said, not all our records, of the other artists that we've
Yeah. Are
recorded.
they
Yeah,
mostly jazz artists?
and they're mostly jazz artists,
Yeah. Wow.
and I'm very proud and happy to say that, these are also deep friendships with these musicians in the Chicago area that we've worked with for so many years.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
one of the speaking of jazz, one of the great jazz performers we had on a few weeks ago was Danny Lerman, who's an
Yes,
amazing sax player, and
amazing, amazing
yes,
musician.
and he's touring. I think he's in Indonesia now, if I'm not mistaken.
He does tour a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
tours quite a bit, and he was just going on starting a whole new thing. Now, I do uh, would like to bring up the reason that I know you,
This is a
that you're on the.
perfect transition. Yes.
Okay, if
We
it's okay with you, go ahead.
absolutely. We are connected because of our my dear friend Ralph Lampkin, who passed away recently on June 24th. Um, I've been friends with Ralph for easily 40 years. He's a champion of so many artists in the business, and it's funny because if you look at his Lampkin Music Group page, he says he loves his life is show business. And
Mhm.
it sounds so much like Ralph because that was his passion to work with artists. I would say mostly cabaret artists and jazz artists, and promote their careers and record and work with them. And, I never had anybody like Ralph that could be in the studio with me or just talk with me on the phone and listen to one of my songs and have tears in his eyes and be
Mm.
so excited and so happy for me or for any artist that he was working with. He was a very special person. So big shout out to Ralph. I
Yeah.
know you're putting up some different Leo's putting up some different things about Ralph, but um, there's a
Lampkin Music Group.
wonderful obituary on BroadwayWorld.com. Stephen Mosher's the editor of BroadwayWorld.com, and the wonderful Marilyn Lester wrote this wonderful memoriam to Ralph. Um, and I said, Ralph would have loved the press, and
Mm.
you'd have to know him to understand that he would love the press and his obituaries and his memoriams and all the people that are celebrating his life. So, as I
Yeah.
said earlier, Maria, it is a celebration of someone's life.
Yeah,
Just to
it
remember
really
them.
is. And he was in touch with me. He's actually got a hold of me because he wanted to have a few of you on the show. It
His
was
clients.
you, right? Danny Lerman, Amanda McBroom.
Yes.
He had the last thing he sent me was DC Anderson, who I'm going to reach out to. But so it was just 2 days before he passed that we were literally emailing each other.
Yeah.
And but what you said, and I didn't know him very well at all, but I really like his love for you folks was what I loved. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, he really cares about these people. He's not just like here throwing something this way. He really cares about these people.
Yeah.
So and then I was speaking with Scott Barberino, who's a mutual friend who
Yes.
managed the Iridium for many years, and I was speaking with Ralph at the same time about Scott, and there's this great history there at the Iridium,
Yes.
which is this famous jazz club in New York. So
And Ralph brought us to the Iridium the first time we played New York,
wow,
and so I know Scott was there when we played there. This was some years ago, but yeah, it's just a
yeah,
history. It's like a musical trove of history.
yeah, and
Ralph.
what? This is the way I look at it because I do believe in like so many different worlds out there and so many different planes that we exist on. Someone like a Ralph. Oh, there's you at the Iridium.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, with Sheila Jordan.
Oh wow.
Yeah, Ralph had some uh, deep relationships with people, with artists and musicians, and he invited Sheila to be on the show, and she came and she sang with us. So
Wow.
gracious, so
Cool.
gracious. And Bob Duro showed up too. He's my buddy. He's not with us anymore either. And the Schoolhouse Rock jazzer Bob Duro. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah, it was a
And
wonderful night.
I know. You know what's so beautiful about videotaping things that people live on forever. There's
Yeah.
just when I first moved to the
And
city and
recordings, Maria.
yeah,
Yeah,
oh my
it's like
God.
our legacy.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what? Many years ago, my therapist said something that I never forgot, and I like to share it with other recording artists. She said, "What you folks have that nobody else has is the luxury of having your highest self archived." And I love that because she said, most people that do great things, nobody ever sees it. They're either in their office doing some great work, or like a nurse or that saves, or a doctor, an EMT that saves a life,
Yeah,
a lifeguard, or whatever it is. They do this amazing work, and nobody ever sees it, right? But as songwriters, as a recording artists or filmmakers, we get the opportunity to have our best stuff forever archived. And I don't take that for granted. So
no,
absolutely.
that's an amazing opportunity that you can't take it for granted.
Yeah.
And I think what we need to do is to never stop writing, never stop performing, never stop doing our art. That's what that's what we're here for, I guess.
Absolutely.
That's part of our purpose in life.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And people, we've had this conversation as well with other musicians where they say, one of our friends I ran into recently, he's a bass player, great bass player. He said, "Oh, my wife keeps asking me when I'm going to retire." He's like, "Musicians don't retire." You
Musicians
know,
don't know.
no, and I love that. It's like it's the best job in the world because it's what we've always wanted to do. And especially, I mean, most musicians I know wanted to do that when they were kids, and like we get to do it even now, late and this part of our life, which brings me to um, some of the different songs that you write. I mean, I love your songs, but I particularly love them because they're very reflective of a life, right? So I love something, a piece of work that can look down at what someone has done and just take a moment and appreciate it. And I get that from your music. It's like you've lived, you've seen what you've seen, you're writing about it, but now as you're singing about it, you're also enjoying. You're just living in the moment and the reality of where you're at. And I think that that's not everybody stays present that way.
Well, that's an interesting subject because I've been thinking about that a lot more, since the pandemic and since
Mhm.
all of the time we've had to think about things.
Right.
And the songs that I've written, my original music, I tell stories with my songs.
Mm.
I'd like to think I do. And I thought, am I living that? Am I living what I'm writing about? Um,
Wow.
Something that I did at I just did a big CD release party at the Green Mill in Chicago, the the great jazz club in Chicago, the Green Mill. Um,
Yeah.
and I went back to some of my other records instead of just doing everything from Accidental Melody, the new album. And I
Right.
went back and I sang the title tracks from all of my original records.
Interesting.
And yeah, it was an interesting thing to do, to reflect upon. And the first video that we released on YouTube is a song from an album I did in 2011 called As You Spend Your Life.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about those lyrics: do the charity and it makes you whole as you spend your life.
Oh, I love it. I love this.
And so that's what I'm talking about. There's
Yes.
the video. Leo's got it up on
I
the screen.
love it. Leo,
Yeah,
thank you. Beautiful.
yeah,
And listen to that guitar. Oh my God.
yeah. So
See the pyramids on the lonely shore. Hear the beckoning
can we hear that?
of a distant soul.
Beautiful. Oh my God.
Do the charity and it makes you whole as you spend your life. As you spend your life. As you spend your life.
And my friend doing
Yeah.
sign language.
Stealing
I love that.
promises
So you're
to
you're
achieve
pulling
your
everyone in.
goal.
Well,
Do you
Thanks, Leo.
I
realize
often, when I
that
perform,
we'll
I'll have
soon
a special guest. I've had dancers, um, and this time I thought I want to do something. I got to think out of the box. And
Yeah.
Claire Johnson has been a friend of mine again for over 40 years, and we've worked together with her sign language singing. She
Wow.
calls what she does sign language singing,
I
because
love
she's
it.
really interpreting the lyrics in a very musical and almost like a dance on
Right.
stage. And it really, I think the audience really dug it. I think it was very enthralling. It was very special to have her doing the signing that evening. It was great. You can
And
see she's beautiful.
Joni, your audience, does it tend to be like a following of people? Or does it tend to is it new people that float in and out, other musicians? What does your audience look like?
Well, I think you would know this from performing over the years,
Mm,
and you probably have your special places you perform and you like to sing at.
yeah.
But I think I have a base of people that enjoy uh, jazz, that enjoy original music, that are open-minded,
Hmm.
that like going to the Green Mill. So it's a mix, it's friends, it's other musicians, artists on our label showed up, which did my
Yeah.
heart so much good
Yeah.
to see other musicians there. And friends from the neighborhood, the bar across the street. We just had
Right.
a good mix of really fun, supportive people.
And the
And
Green Mill, I don't know anything about. So how many does it seat? Is it an intimate? Is it like the
yeah,
Iridium?
no, it's not as big as the Iridium. I would say Green Mill seats about, I don't know, maybe 100, 125,
That's
150
a
when you
good amount of
cram in
people.
there, But
Yeah.
it's one of the oldest, maybe in Chicago. It's a classic, real Chicago jazz club. Pay your money at the door, no credit cards.
Oh, I
You
love
know,
that.
it's fun. It's a really,
Yeah.
really nice place. The owner, Dave Gemolo, has been very, very generous and very gracious, to let us come in. I like going there on a Sunday afternoon. Seems like my fans, I don't know, maybe because we're uh, maturing in our lives. They don't
Yeah.
want to go out at midnight, 10 o'clock midnight. So we've got a nice group. Yeah, there's the Green Mill calendar. And he's
Yeah.
got all Chicago people. He'll bring in national acts as well. We were talking about my good friend and guitar legend George Freeman of
Mm,
the Chicago Freeman family of great musicians, and George plays there once a year on his birthday. This April, he turned 96 years old.
wow.
How about that? And Dave
That's fantastic.
Dave flies in Bernard Purdy to play drums for George's gig, which is
Wow.
amazing, and we just have the best time. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just musicians blow my mind. I think the musicians are the best people.
Yeah,
It's
this is
just
the record we did, a few years ago on Southport called "Everybody Say Yeah."
I
George
love
Freeman.
this.
Yeah,
Listen
it's
to this. This is great.
yeah, it's a compilation of all the records we did on Southport for George, and with a couple of new tracks and unreleased tracks.
And then is that also on your label,
Yeah,
Joni?
that's on Southport Records. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So I would encourage everybody. I mean, of course, follow Joni, um, but Southport Records that represents all these artists. Go and check it out. I mean, you have to. You wouldn't run out of artists to listen to or follow or buy CDs. I mean, I love it. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, and George is still doing great. I mean, he just released another record on High Note Records called "The Good Life."
Wow.
Just came out. He's 96.
Isn't
Like
that
you were saying,
incredible?
we have to keep doing this forever as long as we can.
Yeah, you have to. And I want to also shout out Rick Sudi Caritas, who's a friend of ours, who's also a songwriter. He tends to write really funny stuff, which I love his stuff, and especially his Christmas album was amazing. Now I know Christmas is 6 months away, but as it gets closer, or just go and check him out as well. That's another thing. So see, there's a writer that writes funny stuff. I mean, writes ballads too, but a lot of funny stuff. And then there's just so much to listen to. There's so much to appreciate. And like you said, like we just keep going, right? So to me, artists are like it's like the ocean. It's just like there's
Oh,
always something happening,
that's
and
nice.
and from that wave and from those ripples, other things happen. Like we inspire each other. I always find that. Like when I work with kids sometimes, and I want to get them to draw, and they're like, man, I don't know what to draw. I'll just put on some music. And then they're chatting a little bit. I'll put up a few chips maybe, and then the next thing they're just listening to the music and drawing something. And I try to switch the music up just to see if it changes their mood. These are little kids, I try to do
That's
that with little.
great. That's a great
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah. Or I say, what do you listening to this music? What does it look like in your what does this music look like in your mind?
Wow.
And all of a sudden they start to draw little things. So I think that's really cool. Let's check in with some of our people. Liz Goldenberg
Hello.
says, Mazel Tov from the intermission at Hamlet at Shakespeare in the Park. Hi, Liz. I know. And Lynn Portis really appreciated the comment, the luxury of having your highest self archived. Yeah, that's what musicians, I just find, in recording artists, we get to do. Barbara Cavallo is watching. Oh my God, wait a minute. Barbara Cavallo is the person that said that. And she very rarely watches the show because we're on different schedules. But
Oh, wow.
how crazy. I'm listening because I have to look at my phone too for another site that we're on. So Barbara Cavallo, I was quoting you tonight. Thank you, sweetheart, for saying that about being archived, your highest self being archived. Remember you said that because, a good therapist once told me you have your lowest self, you have your human self that you're there, and then you have your highest self, right? And in your highest self is usually when you're in the most spiritual state of mind. And that's musicians, we're recording at that point, or we're playing, or and we get that luxury of vibrating at that highest level a lot. So I don't take that for granted. So Barbara, there you are. Thank you, my friend. John De Palma is watching us. John De Palma is amazing, absolutely stunning singer. Stunning. And he's a guy you want singing your songs. Thanks for tuning me into Joanie's stuff and point of view. Yes, well, you are welcome. So Joanie, you should look up John De Palma because I think the two of you would be fast friends. He's a local guy. He's a New York guy. He's beautiful voice. You would love it.
Hi, John.
So now, Joanie, what's happening? You just released Accidental Melody, and are you going to be playing anywhere soon that people can see you or hear you? Or
I'll be honest with you, Maria. I don't really perform that often. It's funny, but I like recording. I love recording. My husband and I are always working on projects here at our studio and at our home. I do like doing special projects. I was hoping to go to New York this fall, and Ralph and I were working on that actually the day before he passed. We had a long conversation about it. So that's something. But coming up at the end of August is the Chicago Jazz Festival, which I didn't get booked on. They missed their opportunity.
There you go.
Hey, you know what? But the last night of the festival is Sunday, September 3rd, and we're going to have an after the fest party at our local bar across the street called Lang's.
Oh,
In
great.
Chicago. Yeah. So it'll be a jam session. Sparrow will bring his keyboard over and a sound system, and all the musicians can stop by after the Jazz Fest, and we'll also do a little celebration for Ralph Lampkin that evening. So that's our plan. That's the next really big show. Who said that?
Okay, so Danielle, who is our friend, who
Sullivan.
happens to be a spiritual medium, and she's she can communicate with the other side, and she's a healer. She's amazing. Lots of us have had sessions with Danielle. She says, so Leo just asked, hey, Danielle, is Ralph around perhaps? And Danielle says, Ralph apparently plays with papers or sheet music since you asked, Leo. So he's playing with papers and sheet music somewhere.
Oh,
I know.
Adorable.
Isn't that? Now, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like there's something very mystical going on with Ralph because we all kind of talked to him a day or two before.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. And I thought like wow, you talk about a life where you are doing the work you love and you just keep doing it till your last day. And it didn't
Hmm.
feel like a burden coming from him, like when he was talking music, and
Yeah.
he loved his clients so much and he believed in his clients. And
Hmm.
that's what it's contagious, when someone believes in you, then other people are like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, well, who's that? Like, I want to know about that person. So shout out to Ralph. And Ralph, you are always welcome to vibrate around this show. We will always feel you and bring it up. And thank you, Danielle, for helping us out with that. When papers move around, no, he is still okay. So she says, and she doesn't waste words. She's not someone to just throw stuff out there. When papers move around, no, he is near still influencing. Okay,
Wow.
good to know. Now, Joan,
Thank
as
you.
we're going towards the end of our show here. What are some words of, I always ask people to, because most of the people that watch our show are very creative people. And as we all know, being in this business or being in the world of being creative can sometimes be taxing on the soul and very easy to just want to throw the towel in. Or sometimes people get writer's block, or they hit dark periods where they don't want to do anything. So what's some kind of words of encouragement you would give people to just kind of just keep paddling? What would you say?
Oh, well, I think that happiness is something that comes from inside of you. My wish for everyone is to find that place of peace and happiness. I think being creative will helps you get there. Whatever that creativity is, whether it's doing doodles on a piece of paper, scribbling out a lyric, humming a song, or going to a performance and being an audience member and appreciating and enjoying what you're hearing, or a
Mhm.
movie like you're talking about. Um, yeah, it's just be peaceful, find that place, take deep breaths, listen to what's going on around you in the world. I think that's important because a lot of people, I think I touched on that before, don't listen. You need to
Mhm.
have open ears and an open mind. Um, Everything's so mixed up these days. It's such a divisive world that if you can find it in yourself to listen,
I
have big
love that.
ears and listen and be
Good.
receptive.
I love that. And it's funny that you said the world being so divided, because I feel the same exact thing. I feel like my wish is this. My wish is that we just turn off the television for a little while as a world, and then we could all just break bread and listen to music. Like I always think, what would that be like? Like we used to do when we were kids.
Yeah.
Before we were just tuned into everything outside of ourselves. We hung out together a lot. We hung out on corners. We hung out in fields. We hung out in cars, and we talked for hours. And I love that. We would pull up to drive-in movies or whatever it was. It was just something that we were doing together. It was a lot of togetherness.
You know, I have a best friend since the first grade. Her name's Joyce Grace.
I love
And
that.
and she came up from Ohio. I'm from Ohio originally. We've been best friends forever. And she came up to the Green Mill to my party, that was so important to me to have my best friend there,
Mhm.
and and to know how much she loves me and I love her, and to have that support through the years. uh, that's such a rare thing.
It really is. And you know
Mm.
what? As you're saying, and then we had talked about Ralph, I want to leave the audience with this tonight. And what John De Palma just said, Amen, Maria, get your faces out of your screens and interact. If if there are so many great, like your friend, your best friend who comes and supports you, and I have people like that in my life too, that are just like, I just did a show in Boston in May, a birthday show, and I have people from like all different parts of my life. My friends from childhood, friends from shows I did, but those people meant so much to me. And same thing with you. It means so much that people are in your corner. So this is what I'm going to throw out to everybody out there, whether you are a performer or not. Also be an amazing audience member. Also be an amazing supportive friend that supports other artists, whether you're in the business or not. Like let's make a pact tonight to start listening to each other's music more, to start promoting each other more, to start finding joy in other people's art as well, and not competing, but lifting each other up and sharing that bright light. Because one of the things, like I was telling you, I love musicians so much. Like I'll take a musician over an actor any day of the week. And nothing bad against actors, because I have actor friends too. I just love and prefer musicians because we tend to not so much compete, but like, oh yeah, I want to play with you, or you want to go listen to this guy? He's so great, or they're down at this club, right, Leo? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there were nights at the duplex when you were bartending, and whoever was playing behind, it was Billy or
Darius.
Darius, or or Will, and they would bring up the group to sing. Hey, why don't we do this number together? And it could be Hallelujah, it could be Sister Act 2, but we were all together and nobody was judging. We were all saying, can you do this part? Can you do that part? Let's all do it
Right.
together. And it sounded great.
Right.
And it was just spur of the moment, but we were all together doing it. And that was the fun part. You can't do
Yeah.
that. You can't necessarily do that with a Shakespeare.
I know. But I do, and I respect that. Please, no offense to actors as well at all. I just really love musicians and how we can, the way we all just kind of come together.
Well,
And
it's funny because it's not a competition.
no,
It's a beautiful sharing experience to create music together with other musicians.
yeah,
It's
absolutely.
sharing. It's sharing. It's
It's
beautiful.
sharing and vibration, and it's very important and special. And so, piggybacking on what Joan was saying, keep writing, even if it's the smallest thing on a piece of paper. Like if I hear a line and I'm like, you know what? Like today, I was just all day, somebody would say something and I would turn to my friend and say, okay, now that's a great song. That would be a
Yeah,
great
I
song.
do that too. Yeah.
Yeah,
I just heard a story about Loretta Lynn meeting with Elvis Costello, and they were going to write songs together.
really?
And yeah, she also wrote with Jack White as well. And she walked into the room with this big old bag. She dumped it out, and it was scribbles and lines and notebooks, and just she said, "Where you want to start, darling?" And just
I love
ideas.
that.
Yeah.
I love that. When Susan Campanero and I, one of my great friends, and I teach together at the center. And if we happen to get, because it's a walk-in, you can walk into any class, and you come in, you're going to be part of the class. But lots of times they're really shy, or they're like, I don't play an instrument, I don't read, I mean, I don't write, I don't. We're like, okay, so then that's when we go to poetry, right? And one of the things that Susie and I do is we just give them a little piece of paper, like a small, like this, and say, okay, just put a thought on there, whatever comes to your mind, any thought, and then just
Wow.
fold it, and then we put it in the hat, and then we pull it out in no particular order, and we make a poem out of it, and it's like mind blowing.
That's great.
You
That's
know,
great.
it's amazing.
It's
So
the creative spark.
yeah, and
Yeah,
it's just
you're
like.
giving people an opportunity to have that spark.
Right, and they we may never see that group of kids again, but in that mind, I always take a picture of it when I line it up. Then I take a picture of it as a whole, and I'm like, "That's our poem." Leo, that's a great because Leo works with kids. I bet your little guys could do something like that.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Yeah. D says there's a wonderful movie about Loretta Lynn and Patsy Cline on Netflix. Loretta also had a lot of love for ghosts, apparently. Really? She did several documentaries about her haunted farm. Oh, I'll have to check that out. That is really, really, really cool. I love that. Okay. Well, our time as a group has come to an end, our journey for tonight, but now we are connected. So, Joanie, you are always welcome back. And we hope that you'll stay in touch with our show. And if you ever have anything you want to let us know about, just share it on my page or the show page, and we'll get it out there. We'll promote it. Okay, so
Can
we
can
yeah,
I say this real quick about
of
Barbie?
course, of course.
Okay. When I was young, I had all the Barbie stuff, the dream house, everything. This must have been like 7th grade. I sold everything and bought a clarinet. I
Wow,
got $75.
that's a lot.
I know. I had a lot of stuff.
Wow, but you got a clarinet.
Yeah.
And did you play it?
Yeah.
I
I
love
played
that.
it all through high school.
Oh my God, that's a
Yeah.
great story. That is a great story. Okay, you
Barbie,
see?
clarinet. Barbie.
Yeah. But so, to someone, those Barbie and we just move stuff around, right? But that instrument made a huge difference in your life.
Well, I
Yes,
mean,
it did.
look at your office. That definitely is a musician. No Barbies at all.
Right. I love that. I love that. I love people. When I walk into someone's home, that's the first thing I look at is like their records and their books. I always am like, oh, what are they? And I kind of miss that. Like I'm a big fan of audiobooks, so I listen to quite a few books. So I don't collect like I used to have these huge bookshelves. So and same thing with CDs. I still have so many, and I have so many under my bed and all that.
Oh
But
my goodness. I
oh,
had to digitize all of that, but you move across the country a couple times. You're like, all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know. But I love. You can always tell a lot about a person by their books and their music.
What was your good CD like when you were a kid? The CD or album, the one that you treasured. Do you still have it? Like what was it? Donnie and Marie or what, what was your
You mean for me or Joni?
both of you?
For me, it would have to be the Beatles.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know,
And
that was like,
yeah.
early. Wow, my brother brought home that Meet the Beatles record. And even my
Yeah.
mom and I, we were like, wow, what is this? I want to hold your hand.
Right. Rubber Soul. I loved Rubber Soul. That
Oh,
of all the Beatles albums, I loved Rubber Soul.
yeah.
And of course the White Album. We were all like, oh my God, what's happening there?
Oh yeah.
But for me, it was Goodbye Yellow Brick Road by Elton John. That
Oh,
folded out and all the lyrics were there. And
my uncle had that album. I used to love looking at that cover.
my God. And Stevie Wonder's Fulfillingness first finale. Anything Stevie did, I was like, I was on it that day. I bought it that day. I waited in line. But that particular album, for some reason, and Talking Book, I loved. I loved it. And like Songs in the Key of Life,
Yeah.
anything like that. Those double albums were amazing to me.
See, now I grew up in the time of cassettes.
Yeah.
So my first treasured cassettes were Huey Lewis and the News, sports.
Yeah.
Love that album. Oh yeah. Cyndi Lauper.
Oh,
Right. Fun.
I love
Fun.
Cyndi Lauper.
Yeah, Cyndi
Yep.
Lauper. I love her. And Footloose, the soundtrack.
See, but you
Aw,
remember them. You remember
Yeah.
that stuff.
isn't
Mhm.
that fun?
And they're all in my playlists. They're
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
like,
And you know what I would say because I ran a writers group during COVID, a women's writers group, so I would give out prompts every week. But if I were running that group tonight, this would be my prompt to you. Go through it quickly. Now don't overthink it. Look at your record collection. Pull down a CD, just pop it on, don't think it over, and see what comes of just playing that. Where do you go? What year do you go to? What event? What relationship? Write as much stream of consciousness as you can from that one. Just pick one album. And even if it's one song in that one album, and see what happens. It's mind blowing. What music will bring you right back. And then we have to go. But Tony Bennett, they said that he suffered from Alzheimer's the last few years of his life, but he never forgot one single lyric because the songs were locked in.
Yep.
And
Stevie Nicks.
pretty cool, right? 1982, Stevie Nicks, Belladonna. See, that's what John De Palma says.
Mhm.
Pencil
Hey,
at the
Maria.
window. Yeah.
Show me your tuna tata.
We usually do a food section. Tonight I did not cook because I was in Boston yesterday and drove back at 4 a.m. and then I had a staff meeting at the duplex, and then I came to Judy's house. But I'm back on the keto, and what am I enjoying from Sushi Cruise in Edgewater? A delicious tuna tartare. That's what I'm going to enjoy tonight.
Oh,
And then I'm gonna have some cantaloupe. I'm back on it.
Is
I've
that
been
avocado underneath that?
Yeah, avocado underneath. I wish I had put it in a plate, but Judy just brought it down. Some radishes. There's some ponzu sauce that's going to go on that. A little spicy mayo. I love a good tuna tartare. So,
that looks
but
amazing.
usually, Joni, next time you come on and watch the show, we always cook. I usually have an entree, a salad, and a dessert.
You're making me hungry.
I know. We always do it. It's bad. So anyway, we want to thank you, Joanie. If you want to find Joanie's records, you want to Accidental Melody is the latest release. Joanie Pallatto, that's Pallatto.
2 L's.
2 L's. Oh, 2 L's. Okay, sorry. Thank you. Pallatto. And it's South ChicagoSound.com. Go to that. And our episodes all go to Spotify, Spreaker, and iHeartRadio in podcasts. But you will always be able to find our shows on our YouTube channel, or What's the Story with Maria YouTube channel, as well as on our Facebook pages. Joanie, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And it's just been a pleasure.
Thank you, Maria. I loved it. Thank you so much. And I'm glad to get to know you better, and I want to get to know you even more.
Yes, and we will. Our paths have crossed now. And Leo, how do we say thank you to Leo, who pulls up all our stuff, does all his homework, and makes us feel safe. So thank you, Leo Rodriguez. Thank you, everybody. Come back every Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern. We love and appreciate you. Thank you so much.